high seas crackdown on North Korea. President Trump announcing plans to expand sanctions on the Hermit Kingdom on Friday, targeting shipping and trade.
North Korea, we imposed today the heaviest sanctions ever imposed on a country before. And frankly, hopefully something positive can happen. We will see. But hopefully something positive can happen. But that just was announced, and I want to let you know we have imposed the heaviest sanctions ever imposed.
Meanwhile, during the closing ceremonies last night in the Olympics, North Korea's chief representative said that North Korea is willing to have talks with the United States. The White House is taking a wait-and-see approach on this. Let's talk right now with former U.S. ambassador to the UN, American Institute senior fellow, Fox News contributor John Bolton. Ambassador, it's good to see you.
Glad to be with you.
So what do you make of that? I mean, will the Trump administration's sanctions heat up relations between the U.S. and North Korea? What do you make of the North saying we're willing to talk to the U.S. right now?
Well, on sanctions, I don't think they're going to have much impact. I'm in favor of every new sanction on North Korea, don't get me wrong, but sanctioning 27 ships isn't going to change a thing. These ships were already prohibited from loading and offloading oil for North Korea, and I think whenever you hear somebody say targeted sanctions, think of the word limited sanctions. If you want to stop North Korea, if you want to strangle it, then cut off all trade. We haven't done that. But more importantly, there's not enough time. There's not enough time. CIA Director Mike Pompeo said a couple weeks ago North Korea is within a handful of months, his phrase, a handful of months of being able to hit targets in the United States with thermonuclear weapons. These sanctions are not going to change that. That's the reality. We've been sanctioning North Korea since 2006 internationally. The U.S. has sanctioned them since the Korean War. And this desperately poor country has nuclear weapons and intercontinental ballistic missiles.
Right. Well, what is a guy who doesn't care about human rights care about sanctions?
No, he's running a 25 million person prison camp.
Exactly.
By the way, do you think Iran is going to pay any attention?
25 million person prison camp.
Right. That's essentially what North Korea is. And do you think Iran is going to pay any attention to these sanctions? And what does Iran have that North Korea needs? Oil.
So are they just fooling us by saying, oh, we're willing to talk to the United States? What's that all about then?
I think that's just part of the propaganda campaign. I thought their entire participation in the Olympics was propaganda. And by the way, profitable propaganda. South Korea paid for their participation in the Olympics. Talk about propping up this dictatorial regime, as the government of South Korea under sunshine presidents has done so many times before. Look, we're running out of time. That's the reality. You can't blink this issue away anymore. That's why I think the Trump administration has some very hard decisions to make.
What's going on with South Korea? These people are supposed to be our allies, but they seem to join hands with North Korea in what was so obviously, so clearly a propaganda stunt. When they talk about things like peace and reunification, North Korea and South Korea seem to have a very different idea of what reunification would be.
Yeah,
are they a reliable partner?
Well, this government of South Korea follows in the tradition of Kim Dae-jung and Roh Moo-hyun, the former Sunshine Policy presidents, who think that subsidizing the regime in North and doing this sort of thing will lead to a peaceful resolution of the nuclear problem. That's wrong. And in fact, the opposition in South Korea understands that. The leader of the opposition a few months ago called for the redeployment of American tactical nuclear weapons on the peninsula. That's how much they're worried about it. So it's a problem for the United States. That was part of North Korea's propaganda effort to drive a wedge between us and this South Korean government.
Mr. Ambassador, you mentioned Iran a moment ago and how they might interact with the North Koreans and give them much-needed oil. I also wonder what you think about watching the North Korean regime get closer and closer to full-blown nuclear capacity with ICBMs that can reach the U.S. Isn't there a lesson there for Tehran as well? Because it seems like a lot of the rhetoric and the sanctions, that's what we've been saying, unacceptable for years with North Korea, and they've marched forward anyway. Does this send a signal about American resolve to another regime?
Look, we are facing the collapse of 70 years of American counterproliferation policy if North Korea gets nuclear weapons. And I think there's every reason to believe there's extensive cooperation between North Korea and Iran. We know that's the case on their ballistic missile program. And since the only purpose of the missiles is to deliver nuclear warheads, there's a strong reason to think that the cooperation on the nuclear field is true as well. And even beyond that, whatever technology North Korea has today, nuclear nuclear or missile technology, Iran can have tomorrow by writing the right size check.
Look, we got to talk about China as well. This news over the weekend, one-man rule. The Communist Party now looking to amend the Chinese constitution to allow President Xi Jinping to serve an indefinite number of terms as the head of China. Ambassador, what does this mean for the future of China, and what's your reaction to this?
Well, I think this follows on from the 19th Communist Party Congress, where analysts looking at what Xi Jinping had been able to achieve said he now possessed more power than any other Chinese leader since Mao Zedong. So this removal of term limits follows on to that. You know, the anti-corruption campaign that got so much approval from the West was really a good way for Xi Jinping to eliminate much of his political opposition, since almost all officials in China meet some definition of corruption. He systematically used the anti-corruption campaign to strengthen his power base, and this is the next logical step. It is one-man rule. It could extend for a very long time.
I feel like, you know, this president has been very careful in terms of his moves with thinking about China in many of them. For example, remember when the U.S. first sent the strikes to Syria, and he told President Xi during dessert when they were together at Mar-a-Lago, it's a message sending to China as much as a message it is sending to Syria, no?
Yeah, so I think that's definitely the case. I think the United States for many years has not had a comprehensive China policy. I think we need one. It's not just the trade issues, although they're extraordinarily significant. It's China's massive military buildup, its effort to take control of the South China Sea and soon the East China Sea, its tolerance of the North Korean threat, and its extensive One Belt, One Road initiative, as they call it, to link through infrastructure and investments control in Central and South Asia.